Take two.
Yeah.
Because here she comes.
Oh God.
All right. Anyway, so it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's not like we did this intro before.
Yeah, no, not at all.
On account of a dog. Speaking of.
Never get a dog. Just ignore that. Anyway.
Yeah.
So a lot's happened.
Yeah, this is our
you've got
first...
a fancy new job.
Yes, I do.
You get paid to watch baseball.
Well, that's the short explanation of it. But yeah, if you watch anything on MLB.com, if it's part of a game, there's a chance that I may have had a hand in that.
I keep trying to explain to my dad what you do, but he just doesn't seem to get it. I'm like, you see the highlights? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. Basically, he gets those highlights, puts them together, and he types up what the announcers are saying in the closed captioning.
Right. Well, not the announcers. It basically describes the play, which helps when most times the play writes itself. Yeah. An RBI single is an RBI single that scores player X, maybe player Y, and gives team Z the lead.
Yep.
Sometimes they're a little difficult. One of the games I did, Russell Martin made a catch and then got tangled into a net. So that was pretty pushed out for a bit. So I had a hand in the initial one, and then someone else did the cut for extra clip because. Obviously, all I get is just the initial play. If it needs to be enhanced, that needs to be sent to someone else.
Yeah.
But I'm basically the first line of defense for putting stuff out, fixing anything, giving writers what they need in terms of video clips during, after, and sometimes even before the game, depending on first pitches and all that.
And you get all the games. So you got that nice, like, super long 20 million hour inning game.
Oh, God, don't remind me.
Anyway.
Well, it wasn't 20 innings, but it felt like it.
Yeah. Let's shy away from baseball for a second.
Yeah, because it's the hockey playoffs.
Yes.
Which I know nothing about hockey except the Golden Knights and apparently this Washington Capitals guy who we'll talk about first.
Yes, Braden Holtby. The first time I really saw him play was against the New York Rangers in a Stanley Cup playoff game, and that game went into triple overtime.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I believe the final score of that game was 2-1. Henrik Lundqvist, the goalie for the Rangers, and Braden Holtby, the new goalie for the Capitals, and he came in towards the end of that season. They were just making like ridiculous saves. Like it wasn't that like the offense wasn't doing their job. It's just they couldn't score because the goaltending was just that good. I fell in love with watching Braden Holtby. I already liked Alex Ovechkin there. So I feel like, yes, I do like the Ducks, but I feel like the Capitals are my second favorite team. But they're just sort of like the Washington Nationals where they do super well, they'll win divisions.
And then once it's playoffs,
it's like... Like they have in the Ovechkin era, they have not made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
But have they won a playoff series?
Yes.
Then they're better than the Nationals in that right.
But they keep getting trounced by the Pittsburgh Penguins, who I hate.
Well, that's kind of understandable. The Penguins are kind of the
the back-to-back champs. But back to Holtby. Starting goalie this year, but come time for the playoffs, after that All-Star break, he didn't do as well as he normally does. But they're sort of the second goalie, the backup goalie. The way hockey works is you sort of have your one goalie play out of the 82 games, maybe about like 55 of them.
It's kind of like catching.
And then you have the backup guy, and he'll do like most of the rest of them.
Right.
So this other backup goalie was playing hotter towards the end of the season, and they tagged him. But according to these stats, which include the game he came into in relief in the second game of the series against the Blue Jackets, and also the previous game, he has career 61 games played. Like I said, they don't do well, the Capitals. They're at 30. He has 30 wins and 31 losses in the playoffs, which is ouch. But he's got a 1.98 goals against average in the playoffs,
which is very good.
And a .932 save percentage, which is also phenomenal. It's nothing short of fantastic. It's just scoring just doesn't happen, and
it's just bad luck.
When you've got a Mr. October in baseball, you want to put him in there. This guy is Mr. April. He's there. He's solid.
Yeah.
He's good. But I don't know. I knew he wasn't going to play in the second game because they lost the heartbreaker in overtime in the first game, and then the second game you're like, well, you can't switch back to Braden Holtby now. You're already in this hole.
Locked.
But that guy ended up getting pulled because the Capitals were up by a bunch, and then it became a 4-4 game. Holtby
had to come
came in, and he actually gave up the goal in overtime. But that was one goal on 7 shots.
But I mean, it's not the first time of a great player who's been kind of jilted in the postseason. Ken Griffey Jr., no World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball, you have similar experiences with players who I cannot remember because I don't really follow basketball that well. And then also any of the Jet stars that weren't in Super Bowl III.
Yes. Well, Darrelle Revis, because he went to the Buccaneers and then went to the Patriots, won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, came back with the Jets.
Yeah, but the Patriots are kind of in a league of their own at the moment.
Yes. But
as I've said before, it'll be pretty interesting to see what they'll be like when the inevitable happens and Tom Brady retires.
Yeah, and of course there's all that distraction of, he's not going to come back. Gronk might not come back.
Trust me, after my prediction for football for the last season, I'm going to stay away from the Patriots, which is why I'm talking about the Golden Knights and how they're kind of blowing every record for an expansion team out of the water.
Yeah, they're the first of expansion teams in the 4 major sports, basketball, hockey, football, and baseball, to not only just win their division
just
pretty
be
much
in the
outright,
playoffs.
Be in the playoffs, and also sweep the first round.
Right.
They swept the Los Angeles Kings, and that's pretty impressive. And I think I was telling you, and I've told other people, these guys were all taken from other teams that they weren't good enough to be protected, but they were good enough to take.
Right.
Or some of these players, like in their goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury, where he's been good. He has 3 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins, but there was a new, younger, up-and-coming goalie in the Penguins, and they wanted to go with him, so Fleury was unprotected. Golden Knights, I mean, he's got playoff experience, he's got veteran leadership, and that's what's going to help him get there. My sister's boyfriend, Chris, not our friend Chris, but he was saying that they were going to lose in the first round, maybe even get swept themselves. Well, they ended up bringing out the brooms and did the sweeping. And you can't really count out those Kings because a couple of years back they were actually down 3-0, and they actually came back and won the next 4 games.
Yeah, but for a full sweep.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the closest before this to a expansion team success was back in '99 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Their first season was '98. They had their typical, I think 66, 96, whatever the math works out to be. And then the next year they got into the playoffs. Now, they didn't get to the World Series, but they got into the
Panthers, I believe, they got in pretty fast for football. They went to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, but no one ever... regardless, in all cases except the Golden Knights, it took a year or two to get to that point. This is unheard of, and expansion teams in all the sports are going, from now on, are probably going to look at the Golden Knights and say, okay, what did they do and what did they see?
Let's see, you got to get a high school mascot logo, a terrible name. So they're basically rewriting how this expansion draft is going to work next time.
Right.
And for future other leagues, because there's been talk of bringing another Canadian team into baseball.
Yeah. Which would also mean you need 2 teams because you can't do what the hockey does and have an odd number of teams. So.
Yeah, so it's just, it would mess up the entire schedule.
Yeah, but regardless, it's going to be the Golden Knights playbook on how to build a baseball team, especially considering that the league is still kind of trying to work out the Tampa Bay Rays, that they've been a basket case since. But that's a video for another day.
The only thing, though, is, yes, we've seen the success here, but you also have to see what it is in the long term. Is it just a fluke that they won the division? Because hockey's weird. Unlike baseball, where we saw the Cubs and Astros that they were going to be good, they just happened to be good like a year or 2 ahead of schedule.
Right.
We knew they were going to be good. In hockey, the Rangers had like 100 points last year. They finished dead last in the division this year. The Chicago Blackhawks, I think, won the President's Trophy last year for the best record.
Right.
They finished dead last with like 66 points. So
Ooh,
they had like 115 points last year, whatever it was, and did like half as good. So hockey, literally anything could almost happen.
Right. Whereas baseball, it's more sustained success.
Football, you generally see who's going to be the division guys. Injuries change that.
But injuries always change everything.
Basketball, there's generally the same like 5 or 6 teams that generally stay at the top.
It's whoever has LeBron James.
So it's gonna be hockey's different. That's why I sort of like it because you're not sure who's really gonna win, who's gonna show up, who's gonna become hot.
But still, if they do sustain the success, then they're going to be the poster child for how to build a team,
and especially that merchandising, especially in Vegas.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring Montreal back into Major League Baseball. Maybe Vegas turns into it. I know the Mets. Or whoever has the Vegas 51s will be happy because that's a terrible AAA team for a pitcher.
Yeah, it's the Golden Knights. I guess they're the Golden Standard. I'm not. I think that's the title of the video, the Golden Standard.
Yeah, that sounds good. Anyway, that's it for this episode.
For hockey.
Tune in a few days for what will be a few minutes for us, but will be part 2 of our sit down again.
Yeah. See you soon. See you now.
Yeah.